Hello everyone. In this video, we're going to be taking a look at an opinion piece from the New York Times that was published on March 6th. It's written by David Leonhardt and Stuart A. Thompson. How working class life is killing Americans in charts. Now, what's funny is they don't want to actually address the real reasons. They're like, oh, we need more socialism, more unions, we need more left policies, we need more left shit. Instead of actually looking at the problem itself. Anyway, let's get into the hack job here. So it's in charts, and their chart really doesn't mean shit here. It's meant to scare people. But anyway, let's look at this. When The Economist, Ann Case, and Angus Deaton first published their research on deaths of despair 5 years ago, they focused on middle-aged whites. So many white working class Americans in their 40s and 50s were dying of suicide, alcoholism, and drug abuse that the overall mortality rate for the age group was no longer falling, a rare and shocking pattern in a modern society. So we're talking 2015. We're talking the tail end of Obama's shit run of a presidency. We're talking about after an economy hadn't really recovered, and Obama said, oh, well, anything over 1.8, you're never going to see again with the GDP because, those times of America having a good GDP are over. The time of America being, financially dominant and financially strong, that's over, and you better just get used to it. All right? That was when people were still dealing with the fact of, they had their retirements wiped out with the 2008 bullshit of a recession that could have been prevented if you didn't have Baby Bush repealing the Glass-Steagall Act, Obama forcing lenders to create, to issue mortgages to people that couldn't afford to pay them, that they then turned into derivatives because the Glass-Steagall Act was no longer a thing anymore, that they sold to the American public as toxic assets that went towards their retirements and their 401ks, or their personal retirements and 401ks and everything else. Like if they didn't do their retirement with the 401k and they were actually saving separately because they were told these were good investments. That's why these people, they were still dealing with the after effects of that and looking at, well, my life is shit. I ain't making more money. The economy isn't that great. What the hell am I going to do? I'm already, at a point where, am I going to keep working well past Social Security? So that they hit a hard patch. That's what that was all about. That's why they were drinking themselves to death and doing drugs and committing suicide. Because they're looking at their financial prospects going, well, fuck me, I'm screwed. And it had nothing to do with what they're going to try to claim here. It was the result of policies of the left. But as Case and Deaton continued digging into the data, it became clear that the grim trend didn't apply only to middle-aged whites. Up and down the age spectrum, deaths of despair have been surging for people without a 4-year college degree. This is another thing. They want everyone to go to fucking college. If you go to college, you're not going to kill yourself. If you go to college, you go to Indoctrination Central. Oh, you're going to be happier about yourself. Really? Because to me, it seems like the people who go to college these days are the miserable fucking pricks that have been spurging out for the last, probably 4 years at this point, because they've been doing it since 2015 with the run-up to the friggin' presidential election. In 2016. Come on now. So, look, their first thing pops up. And it's in the early 1990s. The number of white adults with a college education who were dying from drug overdoses, alcoholism, or suicide was fairly low, and the death rates for younger adults were lower than for older adults. Now, this is what's funny, okay? Drug overdoses and alcoholism. They're grouping that in with suicides. They're trying to say, oh, well, it's despair. Well, back then, you didn't have, the meth head thing. You didn't have the heroin problem you have now. You didn't have a cocaine as big of a thing. Drugs in general weren't necessarily as big of a thing. Now, it's, hey, everyone, let's do drugs. And I'll admit, unlike Bill Clinton, I inhaled. but I can still call the shit out. I can be honest about that. So there was less people doing those types of behaviors. Now you got more, so of course the death rate's going to go up. So of course the alcoholism rate's going to go up. So of course the overdose rate's going to go up. And of course it's going to go up for younger people. Because more younger people are doing drugs now and drinking more now. See, and then they do this to scare you. It goes up to the next one and it fills in. Oh no. This makes absolutely really any sense, but all right. Deaths from alcohol, drugs, and suicide. You notice they all combine them here into this one neat little thing. So that way they can group these all together and say, oh, it's all despair and this and that. But over the past 3 decades, death of despair among whites without college degrees, especially those under age 50, have soared. Well, again, those people are now coming up to the point where they would like to fucking retire. They're getting closer to retirement. Well, actually, I should say a lot of those people, say 5 years ago, they had the money they had been saving up wiped out. I mean, I was 40. Be like, well, shit. I wanted to retire when I was 60, 65, 25 years. It's going to take me a lot of time to recoup that loss and everything else. And the economy isn't going to help me do it. And it's not like wages are doing much better because the economy is stagnated. And wages have stagnated because we've got all these people crossing the border to help artificially keep wages low. Okay, whether it's through the H1, HB2 visas or H1B. Oh, shit, I can't remember. I'm having a brain fart. I know what they are. But the quote-unquote skilled labor visas like that they like to use to bring people from India in or illegals crossing the border. So if you don't have a college education and you get someone crossing over and they're willing to do construction, which traditionally, the building trades have been a good paying industry. If they're willing to do it and cut your throat, you ain't going to make the money that you would. Of course you're going to feel down about that. And they go, oh, well, these people without college degrees, they just need to learn to code. That's basically what they're saying here. Go learn to code. Fucking idiots. But anyway, with a college degree, especially those under 50, have soared. I love their wording of that. Then you go into the next one, which throws even more. The death rate for whites with a college degree, by contrast, has risen only modestly across all age groups and remains lower for the young than the old. Yeah, basically what they're saying is go learn to code, and we're gonna have unions and shit like that. Yeah, I mean this is fucking ridiculous shit. Anyway, Case and Deaton, a married couple who are both economists at Princeton, I'm sure Keynesian economists, try to explain the cause in a new book, Deaths of Despair and the Future of Capitalism. Yep, they're Keynesians. Their basic answer is that working class life in the United States is more difficult than it is in any other high income country. European countries have faced the same kind of technological change we have, and they're not seeing the people killing themselves with guns or drugs or alcohol, Case says. There is something unique about the way the U.S. is handling this. Now, okay, first off, working class life in the United States is more difficult than other high-income countries. Okay, well, you have, let's say, Germany or France. They've got ridiculous vacation time. They have, like in France, they have like lunches where everyone goes home. And it's like an hour or two. So you go to school for a few hours, like if you're a kid. You then go home, meet up with your parents for lunch. You have lunch at home with your family. And then go back to school. And workers do that. In Germany, workers, it's like full time. It's like 30, 32 hours. It's like, it's not a 40-hour week, really. You get auto workers there not even working a 40-hour week. Here, because, United States, we were told, oh, you gotta, when Clinton sold this country out to China in the 90s, with the false left-right paradigm of the neocons and liberals both going along with him on this, the supposed liberals, the Democrats there. But the Republicans, Democrats went along with it. They sold out this country. And they said, well, you're going to have to sacrifice on the note of getting your wages. You're going to have to sacrifice on the note of vacation time. You're going to have to sacrifice on the note of the hours you put in and put more of them in for less money. You're going to have to make all these sacrifices if you want to keep manufacturing and your jobs in this country, because we need a way to offset the cost because we can send it to China and do it cheaper. So the American workers, they sacrificed, and this happened all the way up into the 2000s, and it continued for even not to the extent that it did in the 90s into the 2000s, or I should say late 90s through the early 2000s. But it still happened, and we're still being told, oh, well, you need to sacrifice if you want to keep this, and it's the same people that they're saying we should vote in, well, we need more left policies. We need more of this and that and the other thing. It was the left who sold us down the fucking river with Bill Clinton. Him going, well, we need to do this. We need to give China favorable nation status. We need to go and do this because, ignore that hand up my ass back there and the fact that I got a shit ton of money in my pocket from the Chinese. Literally, he was a puppet of the Chinese at one point because they're paying him shit tons of money from Chinese businessmen to his charities. High-ranking members of the CCP, mind you. I love this. It's so difficult. Excuse me. On another note, on another related note to this before we move on. Things in the United States are fucking better now than they were 50 years ago or 60 years ago or 100 years ago for fucking workers in this country. And those people didn't bitch, piss, whine, moan, and complain. They didn't shoot themselves or kill themselves in other ways. They didn't do the shit that you're talking about. Yeah, they might have drank. They might have had a drinking problem. They might have, maybe done a couple other drugs depending on the era. But they survived and they lived decent lives. And you're trying to ignore that fact that things are easier now for Americans than they were 50 years ago, or 60 years ago, or 80 years ago, or 100 years ago. Oh no, it's so bad for them. It's a fucking cakewalk now compared to decades prior, or we should say a half a century or a century ago, or a century and a half ago. Get bent. Things have improved in this country. They're just not as cakewalky as like in Europe. But you know what? Hell, when you don't have to worry about your GDP too much because what you're making is good enough to cover your shit because you don't need to really worry about your military or paying, having an economy that drives innovation. You can kind of just kick back and half-ass it like that. The United States, we're the ones that innovate. We're the ones that create new shit, whether it's, new technology or new medical procedures or new medicines or whatever else. That's one of the differences. And I love this. Well, they don't have the same people killing themselves. They don't have them shooting themselves. Well, they don't have guns in a lot of other places. But the funny thing is suicide rates, you stupid fucks, this is how dishonest they are. Suicide rates are pretty comparable across the globe in the Western world between the United States and Europe. Actual suicides. Number of deaths of despair per 100,000 non-Hispanic whites aged 45 to 54. College grads. Oh, look at this. Learn to code and you'll live. If you didn't, oh, look at this. Oh, you're going to die. If you're looking at this chart, this is so bullshit. Oh, you get a college education, you get a good paying job. Oh, my God. Inequality has risen more in the United States, and middle-class incomes have stagnated more severely than in France, Germany, Japan, or elsewhere. Now, hold on a minute. That's not necessarily true. And this idea of inequality, if you look at the overall wealth of Americans, it goes up across the board. It's just, even though it goes up across the board, the people who have more money might have gotten a little bit more of the pie. but they probably put more money in to get more money out. And this is subjective on the note of the stagnating incomes, because we don't know, what they're basing this on. Large corporations have increased their market share, and labor unions have shriveled, leaving workers with little bargaining power. Outsourcing has become the norm, which means that executives often see low-wage workers not as colleagues but as expenses. Now, this is what's funny here. Like, with what they're trying to push. Labor unions have shriveled because of the fact that they're not benefiting people. People choose whether or not they want to join a union. They choose whether or not they want to be unionized, okay? A good example would be, say, the Young Turks, with what's going on right now and Cenk trying to union bust and everything else. Obviously, these people are probably getting paid pretty shitty working for Cenk while he keeps taking in millions of dollars going, we need you to fund us. We need you to fund us. I mean, shit. He literally spent half of the million and change that he brought in campaign donations, paid himself 10 grand, and he still got 500 and he still has like $530,000 that he did not spend at like the end of his campaign. We all know he's going to pocket that fucking money. He's a scumbag. So you know his people are like, well, we need collective bargaining. Most American workers don't necessarily look at it that way, and they can also go find another job. And the idea of stagnating wages has nothing to do with the fact of unions shriveling up. It has to do with the fact of the economy being manipulated by neocons and lefty, establishment Democrat types, that are bought off by corporate interests that have been doing these things with like, oh, well, we need a bigger voter base, so you get Democrats allowing these illegals to come in because they know their kids are going to come in, be born, that they're going to have kids. Those kids are going to be born into Democrat plantation voting. So, I mean, you can't blame this on union shriveling up. There's a lot of other factors at play. And they can go find another job. That's what you do. If you say, look, I want a raise. If they don't want to give you a raise, you go, okay, I'll go find another job. You go find another job. You establish yourself there, and then once you've shown your worth, you go, well, I would like a little more money. And if you find another fucking job if they say no. That's how it works. And this idea of outsourcing, that came about because of the Clinton administration. Democrats. Why don't you put the blame where it's due? Clinton was the one who facilitated all the shit that allowed for that outsourcing to happen to China. Because he was collecting money in his charities, in his charity from Chinese businessmen. CCP. And the United States suffers from, by far, the world's most expensive healthcare system. That's complete bullshit, number one. Number two, the expense of our healthcare system is the result of that the rest of the world, like the Western world, doesn't want to pay their fair share for medications and everything else related to it. They dictate to the pharmaceutical companies that, oh, well, you got to do this. And these pharmaceutical companies, whether they're based in the U.S., which more than a few are, or if they're, say, the foreign one, the foreign family there, with the opiate epidemic. I think their company was out of Europe. But you also have European companies. They make their money off the United States. All right? Innovation happens here. Innovation costs money. Socialized medicine nations, all right, don't want to pay that. They're like, well, we don't care if it costs you 50 grand. We're only going to give you 10. There's no incentive for them. So we're supporting all these other nations having, quote unquote, less expensive health care, besides the fact that they're paying a shit ton more than they would in insurance and taxes instead. I mean, if you go to Denmark, the average middle class person's paying half their fucking income in taxes, whether it's sales tax like VAT or their actual income tax, to have their quote unquote free health care. It acts as a tax on workers and drains resources that could otherwise be spent on schools, daycare, roads, public transit, and more. Wait a minute. Excuse me, but Bernie's Medicare for All, it's like $30 trillion, like conservatively, for like, what was it, 10 years or not even 5 years or some shit like that? How the hell is that going to free up money, okay, that could be spent on schools, daycare, roads, and public transit and more? That's more than what the insurance industry is actually running right now for cost. Give me a break. Despite its unparalleled spending, the American medical system also fails to keep many people healthy. Whoa. People have insurance. People have better insurance than they do now, thanks to Obamacare turning it to shit. People who have health insurance, they choose not to go to the doctor unless they're fucking sick. A lot of healthcare plans have preventative care. Oh, excuse me. This idea of, it feels keep people healthy, many people healthy. This is bullshit. They say this, but then they don't actually explain how or why, really. This is what's so messed up. They make a claim, but they have nothing to back it up. But it's an opinion piece. They can get away with that. The two economists initially focused on non-Hispanic whites because of the mortality trends were worst for them. But see, they're trying to blame this on work and everything else. Well, let's see. When you're constantly, applying them with white guilt, making them feel like they're shit, that their lives aren't worth it, and then you've got like your buddies like the Clintons selling out all these people. You've got Obama screwing the economy. You've got all these things going on. All right, and Baby Bush on that note, too, with what he did with the Glass-Steagall lie. But you've got all these establishment people fucking things up. And then you wonder why the people who are affected by it resort to drugs and drinking and killing themselves? And try to blame everything else but the real reason. Death rates from suicide, alcoholism, and drug abuse among whites surpassed the rates for blacks shortly after 2000, for example. That's about the time that, things are being pushed to the limit with the fact of the American people. You've got a lot of people in the building trades getting screwed over. The illegals were a big thing. You got Baby Bush around that time going, we got to rebuild because of the hurricanes. We got to rebuild because of this. We got to rebuild about that. We're just going to let all these illegals come in and take all these jobs that Americans would probably want. Yeah. But the black working class is hardly thriving, and deaths of despair have surged among them in the last few years. Overall life expectancy remains significantly higher for whites than blacks, so of course do incomes and wealth. That's also because of the fact of jobs they might have, education, because, different factors besides. I mean, they make these broad statements and go, look, blacks make less money. That's like the idea of the woman 70 cents on the dollar. There are a lot of contributing factors, and they just take the median average and go, see discrimination. If you look at a black person who's an attorney, they're going to be making a similar salary to a white person or an Asian person if they're all equally skilled. This freaking thing it's so sad what they're trying to do here. They're setting things up to be like, with socialism, we need more unions, more government intervention, more of this. It's so bad. More left policies. Many of the problems afflicting the working class span racial groups, and Case and Deaton emphasize that these problems aren't merely financial. Life for many middle and low-income Americans can lack structure, status, and meaning. People don't always know what days or hours they will be working the following week. They often don't officially work for the company where they spend their days, which robs them of the pride that comes from being a part of a shared enterprise. See, basically what they want is they want people to have a vested interest, which I'm guessing, like the idea of the lefty vested interest where they even though they didn't create the business, invest in the business, or anything like that, you get a share of the business. All right, and this idea of lacking structure, status, and meaning. It's not the government's place. It's not anyone's place, a business's place, or anyone's place except the individual to provide structure, status, and meaning to their own life. Anyone who has anyone who's watched Dirty Jobs, Mike Rowe has talked about that multiple times on the show with these people, okay? Like, God, he was one of the early ones, the friggin' shit-sucking dude, all right? The septic guy. He's dealing with shit all fucking day. But he's happy because his job affords him the ability to live his life. I mean, he became a millionaire. But his profession didn't define him. He defined himself. He put structure into his life. He put status and meaning into his life. That's up to the individual to do that. You can work a complete and total shit job. You can be a fucking peon. You can be a low-wage slave, we'll say. Even though you're getting, a decent wage, even though it's decent, we'll say it's low wage, whatever. If you have other parts of your life where you've structured it and you've given it meaning, the fact that you work a shit job shouldn't matter. Many people used to associate the meaning of their life with what the corporations or institution was doing, said Deaton, a Nobel laureate in economics. Miners and factory workers identified them as such. Warehouse workers, especially those whose paychecks is signed by a staffing company, rarely feel the same connection. Oh, no. They need a connection to their job. No, they just need to take care of other aspects of their life. The whole point of their fucking job is to earn money so that they can enjoy the rest of their life, like the other parts of it. Their job doesn't fucking define them. But they want you to think that. And that associates their meaning of life. And they're wrong on this. See, the thing is, all right, miners and factory workers, all right, they didn't associate their meaning of their life as they are a miner or they are a factory worker. Okay? They took pride in the fact that they were a miner, that they were a factory worker. Back in those days, because a factory worker actually fucking produced something. Whether it was they built a car with their own hands, or they built a television with their own hands in this country, or a radio, or computers even, all right? Or things like that. They took pride in the fact that they built those things. It wasn't their job itself. It's a fact of what they were doing, that they were actually doing something at that job. They took pride in the fact that they built this or they built that. And you're trying to conflate that with taking pride in the actual job itself. These people have no clue. It's like workers unite and workers rise up and unite and take pride in your position. Oh my God. The result of these trends has been a coming apart, as Case and Deaton put it, of day-to-day life for whites without college degree versus those with a college degree. No, their jobs are not what's niche. See, marriage rates have diverged, okay? Share of non-Hispanic whites aged 45 to 54 currently married. So you have more college grads married, okay, and less non-college. Well, the thing is, part of that is also the factor of you have less men in college because you rigged the fucking system from public education from K through 12, and now even, including college, you've rigged it against men because, we got to get more women. And women want to find a man that's going to be a fucking provider, and it's kind of hard for women to look at a man who is a fucking blue collar guy who works for a living, even if he makes good fucking money, like say as a welder or a pipe fitter or an iron worker or something like that. Look at him as an equal because he didn't get that college education. He might make the same money. He might make more, but they're not going to see that guy like that. They're not going to see him as an equal. That's one of the factors to this. But see, they don't want to admit that. They should go learn the code, get college educations, they'll stay happily married, and da-da-da-da-da, and this, that, and the other thing. This is how delusional these people on the left are. You have these economists like, these are the problems. They just need to go learn to code. People without college degrees are also less likely to attend church. Considering the elitist college types tend to be non-religious, I find that to be a little bit of bullshit. Where are your sources? See, what gets me is they show these charts, okay? But they have absolutely no sources being shown. They have no proof for this. They don't tell you how they're collecting the data. They don't tell you shit. And I'll tell you right now, working class people tend to be more religious than those who have college educations. You see way more atheists with college educations than you do see them without it. I mean, where's their methodology for collecting this data? How is it collected? What's the source? Surveys that show that a growing number of working class Americans find it difficult to do basic things like climb a flight of stairs or socialize, partly because of chronic problems with their mental or physical health. Let's see. Chronic pain is more widespread. Share of non-Hispanic whites aged 45 to 54 experiencing neck, back, or joint pain. Well, it could be the fact, we've got an obesity problem in this country. I mean, shit, that'll affect your neck, your back, and your joints. Holy shit. It isn't the fact that people have bloated up like fucking balloons since, 1990. That has nothing to do with it. It doesn't help the fact that people eat like shit and eat McDonald's and other fast food and other slop. That doesn't have a factor. No, people weren't eating healthier 20, 30 years ago. No, that doesn't play into it. I mean, come on now. Their next one. Many people are also drinking more. And this is what gets me, is non-college and college grads with the chronic pain. Of course, non-college grads are going to have more pain. Especially if they work for a living. Of course, they're going to be lifting shit. And exerting themselves more. In a lot of cases. But this idea of more people are drinking more. All right. College grads, look, they stayed consistent. Where's your fucking proof? Where's your methodology? How are you getting your sample? And you look at this. All right, this is the average number of drinks on days when drinking among non-Hispanic. All right, this is the average number of drinks on days when drinking among non-Hispanic whites aged 45 to 54. Okay, so if you have 2.7 drinks on a day that you're drinking, because that'd be about 2.7, 2.6. If you have 2.6 drinks, you might have a drinking problem. This is like the old AA fucking thing back in the day, where the AMA says if you have a drink a day, it's good for your heart, like say with wine. But Alcoholics Anonymous says if you have a drink a day, you're an alcoholic. So I guess every doctor out there that says that a drink a day is good for your heart is an alcoholic. What's their fucking methodology? They don't tell you how they've come up with this data. They're clearly trying to push a narrative here. And they aren't happier. Share of non-Hispanic whites aged 45 to 54 say they're not too happy these days. College grads, it's gone down. They're happier. Really? I ain't buying this shit. Not when the last 4 years and change, all right, like about approximately 4 years with the run up to the presidential election, all right, the left has been fucking spurting out more and more. And then with the fact of, since 2016, the delusional, demented behavior they've been exercising, that, and considering that more left people have college degrees, it seems, this should be up. And seeing conservatives tend to be, college, the ones that aren't college educated these days, you'd think this would be lower. Where's your methodology? None of this makes freaking sense. None of this seriously makes any sense. Anyway, let's get through this. We're almost done. See, we're almost done. Given these alarming social indicators, it is not surprising that some other causes of death, in addition to suicide, alcoholism, and drug overdose, have also started rising for Americans without a college degree. Heart disease is the most significant, exacerbated by obesity, drinking, and drug use. Oh, see, college-educated people, they ain't drinking, they ain't eating shitty food, yeah, okay. This is literally like go learn to code fucking propaganda. Oh my God. If you learn to code, you won't have heart disease, you won't have obesity, and you won't have drinking and drug problems. That's kind of what they're saying here. Oh my God. The combined result is a divergence of the life expectancy of white college graduates and non-graduates. Overall mortality for whites between the ages of 45 and 54 has held roughly steady in the last 25 years. But that average hides a big increase in death rates for non-graduates and a big decline for graduates. What can be done about this? Many of the solutions are obvious. It's difficult to accomplish. Really, what's so obvious? The medical system should be overhauled to put a higher priority on health than on wealth for people who work in the industry. Case and Deaton argue. So basically, they're arguing for fucking Medicare for all. And that doesn't necessarily mean a mandatory version of Medicare they add. Bullshit. That's the only way you would do it. They don't want to admit that, though. It's the only way they would be able to accomplish their bullshit, and it still wouldn't accomplish anything because it would just fail in the end. The federal government should do a better job of keeping big business from maximizing profits at the expense of their workers by enforcing antitrust laws and encouraging new kinds of labor unions. Governments at all levels should help more people earn college degrees, both four-year degrees like BAs and meaningful vocational degrees. So, this is what's funny is they want people doing these non-collegiate fucking jobs, these non-college degree jobs, to get vocational college degrees for those fucking jobs. Instead of going and doing your apprenticeship to be a pipe fitter or an electrician or something like that, go to a vocational school. Get yourself a vocational degree. Give me a break. And this idea of, we got to get more people to get college educations. Do you not understand the idea of supply and demand? You're fucking economists. The more people who have degrees, it lowers their worth. But we need to get more people to get college degrees. And they probably want them to be in like New Age tarot card reading and gender studies and stupid shit like that. And I'm sorry, but if businesses have the right to maximize their profits, if it means that they're going to be cheap fuckers and pay lower wages, well, then someone in the market's going to come along and offer higher wages and steal their better employees away. And then they're going to have to raise their wages to gain skilled or worthwhile employees. Our economic research has found that a college degree isn't simply a marker. Students who attend and graduate from college do better in life than otherwise similar students who didn't get the same opportunities. You're literally trying to push for this fact that everyone's going to have milk and honey if they get a college degree, and you're talking about opportunities? Okay. Graduates are more likely to be employed, earn more, marry, and stay married, be satisfied with their lives, be healthy, and live longer. Or, part of the reason why, you know what might work actually better? This idea of people being more likely to be employed, married, stay married, and be satisfied with their lives is if they're raised in a two-parent household, they tend to have better success with those things. Just saying. These findings suggest that college itself, both the classroom learning and the experience of successfully navigating college, brings long-term benefits. No, it doesn't. College these days is like if you go to a 2-year college, it's like 13th and 14th grade. If you go to a 4-year, it's 13th through 16th grade. It's not fucking college anymore. It's not a higher education. It's a continuation of fucking high school. The focus of Case and Deaton's book is an education, but it lingers as the backdrop to all of their findings. This BA, non-BA divide, Deaton says, just comes up again and again and again. Yeah, and it's complete fucking bullshit. A college degree is not a miracle solve-all that's going to make everybody happy. Holy shit. This is ridiculous shit. This is why I wanted to cover this opinion piece. I mean, they literally are trying to push this idea of, like, learn to code. If you get a college education, if you go to a vocational college, you're going to be happier because you're going to find meaning in your work. The reason why you want someone to, like, say, identify with themselves like they were talking about, which they had it completely wrong, but the way that they're talking about people identifying with themselves as, I'm a factory worker, instead of, I built this. See, that's part of this identity politics thing. And it actually goes back to communism. It goes back, which they're Keynesians. They're socialist economists. All right. But the thing is, they want you to identify as the worker. So it's like you've got the bourgeoisie, you've got the management, and you've got the business owner. And then you've got the factory worker. Or you've got the, shit shoveler. That's how they want people to identify themselves. They don't understand that people back then, they took pride in their work. They might have said, yeah, I'm a steel worker. But they didn't take pride in that. They'd be like, see that, all right? If you were, say, on the street, they'd be like, see that skyscraper over there? And you'd be like, yeah, I built that. Or say Motor City, Detroit. See that car right there? I built that. Or say people who worked on the Apollo project, all right? They didn't take pride in the fact that, they were working on an assembly line. They were working in manufacturing, they're, say, a tool and die maker. They didn't take pride in the fact that they were a tool and die maker. They took pride in the fact that something that they milled and created was, say, on the Apollo rocket setup, whether it was in the capsule or in one of the stages of the rockets, they took pride in that fact that they built up part of that and helped it get up into space, helped Americans go to the moon. Then they have this completely wrong. Anyway, I've gone way too long with this. And I've covered this well enough, so I'm just going to leave things here. If you liked this video, depending on where you are watching it, please give it an upvote or thumbs up. If you want to know when new content of mine hits the internet, don't forget to subscribe to one or more of my social media or video accounts listed here. Also, with YouTube, don't forget to ring that bell. You can find all of my video content on both BitChute and YouTube. This may not be the case with other places I upload to, but I will try to minimize this happening. You are always welcome to interact with me at any of these sites on the list, so feel free to do so. If you have anything you want me to cover in a video, when it comes to news or current events, send it right along to me. I will try to do my best to cover it. As always, thank you for watching.